Welcome to the Financial Cleanse 4-part video series. My name is Justine with Debt Free Millennials, and this series is all about doing a quick cleanup of your finances. We're going to cover this in 4 different videos, and this is part 1. We're going to be covering the monthly budget, so let's get started. All right, so if you're wanting to do a quick cleanup of your finances, and what I mean by that is if there has been dust collecting in the corners of your finances, whether it be not looking at your budget or maybe ignoring some of the debt that's looming in the background, this video series is going to help you find the appropriate steps to take to just kind of do an audit of where you're at with your finances. And you can do this financial cleanse anytime throughout the year. And it's a really good way for you to just kind of set a refresh and do kind of some financial hygiene. So the first thing that we're going to cover is your monthly budget. And so what you want to do is take a look at last month's budget. So you are going to take a budget spreadsheet. You can either use an app or you can use the budget toolkit that I personally use to track my monthly income and expenses by downloading the budget toolkit for free. I will link to that below so you can check that out and download it. It's a Google Sheet where you can start inputting your income and expenses. So pop open the toolkit, and then you are going to take a look at last month's expenses. You're going to open up your bank account or your credit card account or both, and then you are going to start inputting those transactions into the spreadsheet to see where you're at. Get an idea of how much you're truly spending on certain things. Next, you're going to look for any problem areas in your spending from that previous month. So look for any outliers that you can typically say, all right, I can chalk that up to friends visiting from out of town, and that's why my going out expense was a lot higher. Or look for trends in your expenses. Maybe you've been spending a lot of money at restaurants, or you've been doing a lot of Amazon orders in the last month. Figure out what those trends are so that you can identify those as problem areas and really focus on creating a healthy budget for that specific category so that you're not going over budget. So you're still giving yourself permission to spend on restaurants, for example, but if it's completely blown out of proportion and you're spending $700 on restaurants, just you alone, that's where we need to scale back and take a look at how we can minimize that spending so that we can focus on your actual financial goals. Now, if you want to take control of your spending and get some ideas on how to do that with several hands-on activities, you can do so by purchasing my How to Control Your Spending workbook, which is for sale using the link below. Okay, so once you get your monthly budget report from last month put together, you looked for any outliers that you can kind of dismiss because they were one-off things, or you can look for consistencies in your spending and address those and make a healthy, realistic budget for the next month. So you're going to take last month's budget report and use that as a guide for the following month and create a budget for the next month. Now you know exactly how much you're spending in certain areas, and I give you different categories that you can base your budget off of. And take a look at our beers and budgeting reports and you can see what different categories that I have. Then set a realistic budget for each of those categories. For example, you know you're going to be spending money on groceries, and perhaps last month you spent around $500 on groceries. Is that a realistic amount of money you want to spend on groceries, or can you cut it down even further? Now, something realistic that you could plan for the next month is maybe you only want to spend $400. So the challenge there for you is to decrease your grocery spending by $100. Maybe that's just finding cheaper alternatives for dinners, lunches, breakfast. Maybe that's just buying the generic store brand versus the actual brand name when it comes to canned goods or non-perishable food items. Those are things that you can start looking for so that you can get to that goal and track your grocery spending correctly. Also, when I'm thinking about my monthly budget, I typically break this up into 4 different categories. I call it the 4Fs budget. So you're looking at fixed, fun, fudge, and future. Now, fixed are your monthly fixed expenses, things that you know you're always going to be spending money on, or they're predictable expenses such as your rent or your mortgage payment, your cell phone or utilities bills. Those are always going to be fixed. Fun is where we tend to get ourselves into trouble. So fun is any kind of discretionary spending that you might be doing, such as going out to eat, going out to the bars. Maybe you really like going golfing every single weekend. All of those things come out of your fun category. And there needs to be a set budget in place so that your fun category does not overwhelm the rest of your budget and you tend to ignore your financial goals. Now, the fudge category is not chocolate. It's actually the miscellaneous expense where you're like, ugh, fudge. Where does this expense go? Typically for me, that's sometimes when I need to go to the pharmacy and get medications or just something that doesn't really fit my fixed or my fun categories. It's the miscellaneous buffer that typically is a good idea to have in your budget. The last category is future. So future is all of your financial goals that you might be saving for, whether that be for a vacation, a second car, maybe you are cash flowing a wedding, or you want to do some outside investing. All of that future, all those future financial goals, that's exactly what's going to be under that future category, and you can break out your goals into separate line items so that you can see exactly how much you are earmarking financially for each goal each month. And then you can see the running total. If you are using my budget toolkit, you can add in a running total and see exactly how much money you have saved for that particular financial goal. All right, so if you want to get really granular with this monthly budget report and kind of cleaning up your budget, ideally you would look at the last 3 months of spending and do what I call a spending audit, where you are going through the last 3 months, you're taking an average of your spending for each category so that you can get a realistic picture of how much you're actually spending. This is a really good idea, especially if you foresee yourself spending in that category again and again, like restaurants. I keep bringing that up as an example because I love to try different restaurants and eating out. So if you're going to be granular with this, I would suggest doing a 3-month audit spending, but for a quick financial cleanse, just look at last month's spending. That's really going to make this quick and easy for you to just get a grasp of what's going on with your budget. All right, so that's my quick tip for you. Go ahead and open up the toolkit, get started on your budget, and I would like to know in the comments below, what is the problem spending area for you? Is it shopping, Target, Starbucks? Leave me a comment below on what your problem spending area is, and I'll catch you in part 2 where we will be going over debt cleanup.